All right, so the isometric, usually these take us not as much time because if you've started with the oblique, you can completely see what you got going on. And the other thing is typically you can kind of remember these measurements as you go, okay? So what I'm going to do now, remember any line that is in that 30-degree perspective is reusable. And every vertical line is typically reusable unless it's dependent on a different slope. So like in this case, the slope, I guarantee, is going to come out looking different just because of the perspective. So again, and ask yourself, is this 30-degree line, is it relative to something that is on the x-axis, okay? So in this case, I'm going to start with my same methodology, and I'm going to come over one. I'm using my Lego castle. How did I do this? I could repeat this line and just type in 3, and then again over 2, and then again over 2 this way. And I can remember all of these, just because I did this just a few minutes ago. And then over 2, and then over 2, and then over 1. And this is one that, for whatever reason, I feel like it is kind of necessary to go ahead and finish the footprint. It's like a backward F. Even though we can't see this, we can't see this, and we won't see this, I think that finishing the footprint in this case is a pretty good idea. If you want, you could always just go put these on your construction layer, and you know that you're going to end up deleting those in the end, okay? So now I'm just going to borrow from over here because I know that this is 4, regardless of anything else. I know that this is 4, so that's going to go there, there, and there. And I guess I can put it right here, and that's completely fine. But it gets confusing because I've got, see, when I snap it in, I've got a line on top of a line, and then that's going to screw me up a little bit, okay? So what I'm going to do is just copy this one, and I'm going to place it right on the top of this and right there. And yes, I get it that it's not ending on anything, but I'm not too worried about it because now I'm just going to go ahead and copy this one and bring it up and bring it over. Okay. Now this has become a part of the drawing. So I'm going to match properties. I'm going to say, okay, I want it to be on my object line layer. Voila. Okay. And again, I'm going to forget these vertical lines until sort of the end. Okay. So 1-inch lines. I've got some of these. In fact, look at this. All of this is relative to this 30-degree line right here. So in this case, I can just go select all 3 of these and copy them. Now, if you're doing the the isometric first and the multi-view second, it could be the same. You'd find out that you'd be able to copy those just as well. Okay. Now I'll never see this again. Don't need it. Okay. And I'm going to connect the dots, and let's see if my hypothesis was correct, or guess, I guess you could call it. Does this, in fact, show up as a different slope? And yeah, I can obviously see that it does. Okay. I don't see this line here, but I can borrow it. Remember, this is like in the back, and I can't see it right now, but I can borrow that, and that works just fine. And now I'm almost done. Just got to drop these lines at these intersections right here. So I'll go drop it. Oh, that gets to be a little bit confusing because it's right. You can see I'm overlapping again. Okay, so I'm going to leave that alone for a minute. Maybe I don't even have to deal with it. Again, I know I'm not going to see this, so now I can delete it. And now I can take this line and bring it up to both intersections where the slope is meeting this piece that's jutting out at me. And that now has established the slope right here, okay? So a little bit of trimming. Don't need that. Don't need this. Don't need this. Don't need this, right? Don't need that. That's sticking up too high. That's sticking up too high. Okey doke. And now just connect the dots from here to here. Now I've matched my slope and everything's great. But I'm going to actually delete this just for a second. Let's see. This might be one of those where everything actually lines up from top all the way down. And yes, it does. Okay, cool. And then just delete what you know you can't, or trim what you know you can't see. I know I can't see that. That's kind of weird that that line is there and that line is there. And that to me looks sound as a pound. Okay. Now, stupidly, this right was relative um, to this 30-degree line, and I stupidly deleted my 2 lines that I needed to get me into that location. And that line was up 2, and it was over this way 2, right? And that's fine because doing this is just giving you another opportunity to see how to do that ellipse. So I click ellipse. Only 2 numbers I'm going to have to enter. I'm going to select right here, and I'm going to type in the radius of that circle, which is 1, spacebar, enter, and then I type in half the radius, which is 0.5. Didn't work for me. Endpoint of access. Let's try that one more time. Type in 1, enter, and then 0.5, enter. All right, and I can see this thing is that tweaked in the right orientation? Now this one is, so even if I had borrowed this, you can see because of the fact that now these lines are in that 30-degree direction relative this way, putting this ellipse in a matching that orientation like I had, and the other one doesn't look right, right? So it's just all you're trying to do is assess the parallelism of the whole relative to the position that you have. Now I don't see a gap right here. Like in this one, when I drew that 1-inch line, we saw a gap where I just copied the ellipse and I brought it over here. I have no gap over here, so it's just a change in perspective. And so that is all I'm going to see. That is the isometric. And what I'd like is to go ahead and dimension it with your line dimension and go ahead this way. And if yours says 7 on the button, you nailed it. Okay, so that is it. And give it a whirl. And, again, use this information, stop, pause, rewind, everything else. But I think these are pretty straightforward.